Sometimes the Bible communicates in sensory language, which, just like the smell of freshly brewed tea or walking into a fragrant restaurant, invites you into an embodied experience that you would otherwise miss. I hate coffee, and I will die on the hill that y'all are just pretending it tastes good, because it doesn't even smell good. Like at all. Anyway, my distaste for coffee led me to be an avid tea drinker. I love tea so much. Tea is an experience because there's how it tastes, but additionally, and in a way that coffee never could, there's how tea smells. Tea is a sensory experience. The sound of the kettle whistling, the different colors of the liquid, the warmth of the mug, the sweetness or depth or citrusy nature of the fragrance, and the diversity of tastes you experience when the drink is at different temperatures. Look, I recognize that people claim all the same things for coffee, but I don't know anything about that, so I'm gonna stay in my lane. The point is that tea is an experience you are invited into via your senses, and so is your Bible reading. I know you're confused because we don't typically think of reading as a sensory experience, and before you go running, I'm not gonna claim that reading your Bible is always some super emotional, embodied experience, like taking ashwagandha in the jungle, although, I don't know, it's pretty spiritual for me. What I am saying is that sometimes the Bible communicates in sensory language, which, just like the smell of freshly brewed tea or walking into a fragrant restaurant, invites you into an embodied experience that you would otherwise miss. Your senses are a doorway to your brain and your heart that logic just couldn't open if it tried. Sensory language is used all throughout the biblical text. If you want to learn how to read the Bible, you should pay attention to language that grabs at your five senses: sight, sound, taste, smell, or touch. Sensory criticism is a form of biblical engagement that recognizes the purpose of sensory language to awaken something in you as a reader of a text and ask the question, what is it? It's a form of study that pays attention to how this language calls you to attention, looking to get a rise out of you emotionally, intellectually, or otherwise. How does it do that? Why does it do that? Reading your Bible this way notices that instead of saying God led the Israelites into the wilderness and they hated it, Exodus just describes the wilderness. There was no water. Finally, they find water. It's bitter, and there's hardly any food. This isn't just colorful language, it's sensory language. Because now you, the reader, are experiencing the wilderness along with the Israelites as they've gathered there. You understand why their response to their surroundings was grumbling and fear, despite having recently been freed from slavery, because no one likes to be hungry, thirsty, or hopeless in a destitute land. And the biblical text never explicitly told me that was the tone of their grumbling, but it did implicitly tell me through the language it used to describe the wilderness. That is the power of sensory language in inviting you to experience the biblical world. The text welcomes you to learn via osmosis. Sensory language in the biblical text says, I could just show you better than I could tell you. Just like a wine tasting or when you drink tea, sometimes the only way to understand what you hold is to experience it fully. But remember, we don't all experience things the same way. It's important to note that experiencing something without one of your senses doesn't make you incapable of learning. It makes you creative. This means that although some of us use the commonly known five senses in the commonly known ways, others of us who are differently abled use different senses or the regular senses in different ways, like someone who is blind and can locate things around them via echolocation. Language is a vehicle to describe all of our experiences, so don't fall into the trap of thinking that the Bible's best literature is just poetic. There's an entire world waiting for you to come visit, if only you accept the invitation of your senses to enter. If you learn to pay attention to the words that grab at your senses, you'll come to realize that reading the Bible through your senses is kind of a sixth sense in and of itself. Hi, this is Genesis here, editing and realizing I forgot to record me telling you I created 4 days of Bible study on this exact topic and put it on Substack for you, totally free. So, if you'd like to add this reading method to your Bible study but don't know where to start, head on over to Olive Fig and Vine's Substack for 4 days of guided instruction from yours truly. It's totally free, so you should totally do it. Okay, bye.